Nail it.
3, 2. Tony, there are a bunch of folks out there who are interested in smallmouth, myself included. And there are a lot of techniques for catching smallies as well. There are also a lot of water types, which is interesting. North Alabama has those different water types. So you've got lakes, big rivers, small creeks. I'm excited to find out about the different techniques for each of those different types of water. So if you could fish one type of water for smallmouth, which type of water is your favorite type to chase smallmouth and why?
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Dave. Yeah, good question. It is when I go speak to fly fishing clubs through the winter, like what we all the guides do. Doing your PowerPoint dog and pony show. I always say
Uh-huh.
there are three ways to do things. The big draw in coming to Northwest Alabama is that there's a plan B. There's always, if your plan A is crapped out, there's a different way to do it. You're not stuck like you are in some destinations.
Right.
You're not dependent on generation or the weather. Even our creeks drain from different watersheds, so we can usually find some good
Oh,
water or a different way to do things. Uh, my I've got a special place in my heart for all of it, but really, at the end of the day, if I could pick one to do forever, it would be floating those creeks. The smaller water, just from the solitude, the scenery. We got some pretty good creeks, some small creeks, some tiny little creeks, but all of them is super clear water. Is just like you're familiar with in southern Middle Tennessee. You
right.
got you got riffles and rapids, you got pea gravel, you got super clear water, and we have the opportunity uh, when the water's clear and the flow is good, you can drop the boat and sight cast to trophy fish.
Oh,
Like we've talked about earlier, it's not to bang on the tournament guys too much, but we have forward-facing eyeballs in my boat, and we use
right.
our eyeballs to see instead of staring at electronics. When you're on the creek, you can see the ledges and see the potholes and even see the fish and put the brakes on. And we were sight casting the fish that were just coming off the bed last week. I had a guy, if you've seen my website or my social media page, had a guy
Uh-huh.
that came up from Birmingham, a regular customer, planning on fishing the tail races with me, planning on it. And we had to cancel three different times because of the high generation. He had to get with me because he was running out of vacation days. And we went to plan B, which was float the creek. And we sight cast to an 18 and a
Oh,
21-inch smallmouth, which is a
really?
pretty nice
Those are
plan
both
B.
nice fish. Yes,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
great plan B.
Able to stop the boat, see the fish, and there's nothing like that. I guess the visual aspect is what does it for me on small streams. And as a guide too, when you're able to do that and know what's coming, it's just as good as fishing for yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
fishing through someone.
you're fishing through somebody, especially when you have a customer who's responsive and knows and trusts you and will put the shot. And
Yeah,
last week we were able to stop the boat and say, let's talk about the flow and where your fly needs to start, where it needs to finish, and where it's going to turn. And
right.
when it happens, that happens on creeks more often than it does when you're blind casting situationally without electronics. So
Yeah, and electronics are something that's really big in bass fishing. And somebody was telling me the other day that, and I don't remember who it was. So and don't quote me on this, but they were saying that the some guy that won some tournament cast 12 times, and that was it. He
yeah,
just sat there and rode around
oh
and looked at
gosh,
his little TV thing, whatever it is, his computer,
gosh, yeah,
and
I
just
can't.
cast to what he needed to cast to, which is extremely efficient, but it's
Yeah,
extreme to
well,
the other end of what we
it's
like.
extreme to the other end of what I like to do. I've watched those guys when I see the tournaments, and they're all, two guys in a boat, both standing on the bow, neither one of them holding rods, both looking at a screen. I mean, you're missing so much.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
missing a lot of life
yeah.
staring at your screen.
You can't look around and see what's going on around you because you have to look at the screen because you don't want to miss one of your whatever 12 shots,
Yeah,
15,
yeah,
whatever it is, however
yeah.
many it
So,
is. So that
uh,
area that you're around there is called the Shoals. I
right.
want to get into that just briefly. Why is it called the Shoals?
Right. Well, that's on my sticker and on my website. That's the lead in is Fly Fish the Shoals.
Uh huh.
And there is a town across the river from Florence called Muscle Shoals. That's the
Right.
impetus but the shoals were the actual rapids on the Tennessee River. Prior to the creation of TVA, it was the set of rapids that were so massive. Teddy Roosevelt even called it the Niagara of the South
Wow.
in his book on westward expansion, how the West was won. Super huge, non-navigable rapids where the river fell enormously, right where the city of Florence is, between Florence and Muscle Shoals. So it's called the Shoals. There were a big, wide, wet road of a river. I love going to the University of North Alabama archives and looking at their pictures of the river before it was dammed up.
Oh,
That's amazing, Dave. It looks like the Hiwassee at the Big Bend
yeah,
times
right.
times 10. It was enormous set of chunky rapids, broken limestone, riffles everywhere. But that's all dammed up. It's still there. It's just 40 feet deep now.
Right.
So the area has always collectively been known as the Shoals, also from Muscle Shoals Sound Studios and Fame.
Yeah.
Fame is FAME, stands for Florence, Alabama uh, Music Enterprises.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
where,
is that what it stands for? I
yeah,
didn't know that.
Florence, Alabama Music Enterprises. That's
Huh.
where Aretha Franklin and Percy Sledge, When a Man Loves a Woman,
Yes.
where the Rolling
Yes.
Stones recorded Brown Sugar. Wilson Pickett did everything. Land of a Thousand Dances and Mustang Sally all came out of the Shoals recording studio. So there's a lot of music, a lot of boogie in the smallmouth. Smallmouth got a
Yeah.
lot of tail shaking.
So what is it? The Statler Singers? Is that who it was? Not the
Staple
Statler
Singers.
Staple Singers. Thank you.
Staple Singers.
They
Yeah.
were down there. They were, oh
Oh,
gosh, they're
so
so
much. There's a
good.
long list. You can see the
Yeah.
whole Muscle Shoals music documentary that was still on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
fantastic watch.
Zeppelin, Leonard Skinner were both
Yeah.
there. Buffett's been there.
Yeah.
Mac,
Bob Dylan.
yeah. Mac McAnally lives down there somewhere, has a house down there somewhere.
Yeah.
So
On the
he's
bluff,
there.
overlooking the river.
Is it? I've seen that
Yeah.
bluff before, but it's been, gosh, so many
Yeah.
years since I've been
That's his
over
La
there.
La Land Studios. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. La La Land's there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff. It's a good side trip for a family. If you're there for a morning fishing, you can take the afternoon off and do the studio tours and get back on the river in the afternoon. That's kind of how I do my. I don't
Oh,
do full day trips that are 8 hours long. Most of my out of town customers, I'll take them to a tail race in the morning, give them a break in the afternoon, and pick them up for a lake session or a quick float or wade trip in the evening. So there's a lot of ways to do some fun stuff in the Shoals. It's a great day trip. I've got several customers who come up from Birmingham and Tuscaloosa that have discovered Florence in particular as their getaway. It's just a couple of hours
okay.
away from Birmingham or Nashville. It's
Yeah.
really laid back, low key. Downtown's walkable. You got a lot of music stuff, good food, and easy access to a lot of water.
Yeah. There is some good food down there in there. And we'll
Yeah.
talk about that in
Yeah.
a minute. We will
Always
not
talk
get
about
away
food.
from this podcast without talking about food. That is not going to happen here. So, well, we say we go ahead and kick this thing off from high top
Yes,
the
sir.
world headquarters of Southeastern Fly. This is the Southeastern Fly podcast. Thanks for joining us on this episode. Feel free to share this with your friends and your fishing partners, and please share this with your friends and fishing partners. That helps us out. That kind of moves us up the list a little bit, gets a few more people out there listening to us. And that would be awesome if you could do that. Hit the like, click the follow buttons, sign up for the Southeastern Fly newsletter. It's at the episode show notes. Wherever you're listening to this, it's going to be in there. If not, just go to southeasternfly.com and sign up for it there. So who is our guest today about fly fishing for smallmouth? On this episode, he was born and raised fly fishing on the Tennessee River, a licensed U.S. Coast Guard captain since 2005, freshly, and I mean freshly, retired from a high school baseball coach and teacher, and extremely happy about it.
Yeah.
He ran that gauntlet and survived. He offers casting and fly fishing lessons, wade and canoe trips, tail race trips below Wheeler and Wilson Dams, lake trips on Wheeler, Wilson, and Pickwick Lakes. You can find him at coxflyfishing.com. He's the owner and head guide at Cox Fly Fishing. Please welcome to the podcast, Captain Tony Cox. Tony, thanks for stopping by, man.
Thanks for having me, David. Looking forward to talking to you about my home
Yeah,
waters. It's good stuff.
Absolutely. It's that whole area over there is very interesting to me. Extremely interesting. So I want to learn more about it. And I've been through there We would travel through there some, not every time, but several times we would go from Chattanooga to Memphis to visit family. We
Yeah.
would go through there, and then my uncle has a cabin on Pickwick. So one time we jumped in the car and went down and just went through the Shoals. We were going down there to eat, and the place that we were going to eat was closed on, I think it was on a Sunday that we were going down there, and it wasn't Chick-fil-A. So, but yeah, so well, we're going to take all the information since there's a lot. We're just going to try to take it in bite-sized pieces, y'all. So there's a lot to consume, and I think that probably would be the best way to do it. Let's start big and work our way down to smaller bodies of water. So, Tony, what are some of the secrets to finding and catching smallmouth in your larger lakes around your home?
Yeah. That's okay. Yeah, I do it in threes. When I speak to folks about coming to the shoals, the big draw is that you've always got a good plan B. You're not, if you're coming to wade the creeks, there's always, if they're blown out and you've got your hotel reservations, you can get the lake or the tail races, or there's always another way to get on the water when you're in shoals. The lakes uh, are, full disclosure, what I do the least,
Huh.
which when I was thinking about how to explain this to you. That's a very much a first world problem because they're world class lakes.
Boy, I'll say.
And the fact that it's not that I don't do them much, but they're only a plan A for me a couple of times of the year. But they're always the first plan B if the creeks are blown out or the tail race is not going on. By fishing the lakes, I mean launching your boat and going around like you would in the farm pond, beating the banks. Okay,
Uh-huh. Okay.
that's what I'm talking about, fishing the lakes. What the lakes are the divisions of the Tennessee River created by the dams.
Uh-huh.
Folks that are coming from out of town. I have a lot of customers who come from South Florida, South Georgia, Mississippi, and Louisiana, and the Shoals area is the closest smallmouth. It's the southernmost range of smallmouth bass in the
Right.
eastern United States. Okay, so if you're coming, if a smallmouth is on your bucket list, and you're in Gainesville, Georgia, the first place you're going to find them is in Florence, Alabama, on the Tennessee River.
Okay.
It's the southernmost range. So now, when you talk about fly fishing the shoals in the Tennessee River and the lakes, those are all the same things. The Tennessee River, as you well know, is a monster. It's 652 miles long from Paducah, Kentucky, or from upstream in Knoxville, Tennessee,
Yeah.
down to Paducah, Kentucky.
Right.
652 miles, and it makes a smiley face across the top of North Alabama. It
Uh-huh.
dips down into Alabama and Chattanooga, leaves in Waterloo. So a lot. I'm not going to get into renaming bodies of water like the Gulf of whatever, but it could be the River of Alabama River because it is
Yeah,
a
good
lot of that
piece
river is
of it
in
is.
Alabama.
It
It's
is,
in
isn't it?
Alabama.
Yeah.
But so on that 652-mile trek where the river empties into the Ohio in Paducah, Kentucky, and then it dumps in the Mississippi. The Tennessee Valley Authority, the TVA, has 9 dams on the main body of water. You've got Fort Loudon. What's after Fort Loudon? Watts Bar,
Yep.
Chickamauga,
Yep.
Nickajack,
Heck, yep.
uh, Gunnersville Dam, Wheeler Dam, Wilson Dam, Pickwick Dam, and Kentucky Dam.
Wow.
So
That's impressive right there that you can think all those off.
yeah, I can't remember birthdays or
Yeah, right.
anniversaries.
I can't
You got
remember
the
what I had
names
for
of the
dinner
dams.
last night either. That's good.
so,
Yeah.
so you got those 9 dams dividing up a 652-mile river. There are 20 other dams on the tributaries, like the Hiwassee and Thames Ford and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there are 9 major dams on the main river itself. And the 2 biggest dams are in Florence, Wilson
Oh,
Dam and Wheeler Dam. By biggest, I mean they're the largest, they're the tallest, widest, and have the most power production, the 2 biggest dams. Those 2 dams, David, the turbines on those 2 dams create more electricity than the other 27 dams combined.
no kidding.
No kidding.
Wow.
On
Okay.
Wilson Dam, on a sidebar, Wilson Dam actually predates TVA by 25 years. Wilson Dam, that's the heart of Florence, Alabama. That's why I'm here. My grandfather moved to Florence from Fort Payne in 1917 to build that dam.
Right.
It was built for World War I purposes and sat as a big old white elephant until 1933 when TVA was created, and it was the first dam. And it actually, that plays into the water levels. The water levels on Wilson Lake that was created by Wilson Dam were initially controlled by the Corps of Engineers exclusively. So the water doesn't fluctuate on Wilson Lake like all the other lakes on the Tennessee River. Wilson Lake only fluctuates from 505 to 508 feet above sea level.
Wow. That's tight.
Only 3 feet. It only drops 3 feet. You know, if you go up to Chickamauga, the spread is 25 feet.
Right.
The winter pool drops tremendously, but Wilson Lake, for that reason, because it predates TVA, is full of water all year long. Wilson Lake is full of water all year long. So anyway, the lakes that we have in the Shoals are basically on either side of those two dams. You have Wheeler Dam and Wilson Dam. Below Wilson Dam is Pickwick Lake.
Right.
Upstream is Wilson Lake. And then above Wheeler Dam is Wheeler Lake.
Right.
So you got, we fish the lower end of Wheeler, all of Wilson, and Pickwick. Those are the three lakes. And those are drastically different watersheds. Wilson is only 15 miles long, where upstream of it, Wheeler Lake is 60 miles long.
Right.
Downstream of it, Pickwick is 50 miles long. And they all have different characteristics. And a lot of those characteristics are because of all the turbines. Wheeler Dam has 11 power producing turbines, and downstream, Wilson Dam has 21.
Right.
21 units, which is an insane volume of CFS potential.
Yeah, it is.
So we'll start off by saying that the tail races are not weightable. Never, ever. That's not a thing.
Right.
Like they are in some tail races.
Yeah,
this is a monster tail race fishery. And the lakes are affected by that also. Even on Wilson Lake. Wilson Lake's a short, deep lake. You know, it's 15 miles long, average depth. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's like 35 feet. Big old deep lake. There are a lot of 60-foot deep sections in Wilson Lake, but it's only 15 miles long. It looks a lot like a quarry because you've got limestone bluffs on both sides. And you can be making a 50-foot cast to a bluff. 50, nice, easy 50-foot cast to a bluff.
Yeah.
But your boat will be sitting in freaking 40 feet of water.
Right.
So that changes how you have to fish those things. Pickwick on the other end is much more like a river. It's narrower. It's not as deep. Even when you're fishing on the lake downstream of the tail race on Pickwick, there are ledges, stump rows, shell mounds, which were Native American, honest to God, shell piles. There are shell mounds. Even downstream, you can see on your graph on your boat, the town of Riverton. You can see the structures where the town was inundated by TVA. You've got all kinds of midstream structure that you're fishing in mid-lake when you're on Pickwick. Fishing stump rows, fishing submerged channels. That's a real thing. On Wilson Lake, if you're fishing the lake, that's not a thing. On Wilson Lake, you're beating the banks, just like you would in a farm pond. But you're not fishing anything back to the boat. When you're fishing the lakes, I guess what I would start off with, the average rig we use is a 6-weight. 6-weight's a good rod. If you're going to the Shoals, you know you're going to be staying in a hotel or an Airbnb and fishing the lakes proper. A 6-weight will do you. An 8-weight will find you overmatched for some fish. A 5-weight, you're definitely going to run into a fish that'll, give you more than you want. But a 6 or 7's good. The main thing is that you use really heavy terminal tackle. The one joke I have when I go speak at fly fishing clubs is you can't spell Cox without 0X. So we don't see, these fish aren't leader shy. But anyway, fishing the lakes, for me, fishing the lakes they're plan A during post spawn, like May and June. May and
Yeah.
June is the best time. And also in that May and June framework, you have the mayfly hatches that happen on the Tennessee River.
Oh, that makes
Typically,
it really good.
I've
Yeah.
always told folks you can't plan on it. If somebody tells you about it, you missed it by a day.
Yep.
You've got to be there in the neighborhood. From the window has historically been from Father's Day, which is coming up. Good luck, dads. Hope you get some fishing gear.
Yeah.
From Father's Day to the British Open weekend. You know, that's the
Oh,
range.
yeah. Yeah.
That's the range of when you can expect to find a mayfly hatch. And the earlier and closer it is to Father's Day, the more likely you are not to just have bluegill up and in that strike zone. Because as you get later in the summer, you know, the big fish are going to move away. What makes Wilson Lake particularly cool for the mayfly hatches is it's so deep. If a mayfly hatch does happen late, you're still going to have some big smallmouth. Again, you're casting towards bluffs primarily. When you're beating the banks, working parallel, fishing on Wilson Lake, you're looking at a 20-foot tall bluff,
right,
that continues down for another 40 feet.
Right.
And there's jagged ledges, and those fish are cruising the ledges. It's why the spin guys use that drop shot, the drop fly, whatever it is, a float and a fly underneath it.
Yeah, right.
You've got fish that are always cruising those edges, but they're never out towards your boat. The biggest difference in fishing the lakes between Wilson and Pickwick is if you're just cruising parallel to the bank on Wilson, you're never going to fish your fly all the way back to the boat. You're going to throw it right to the bluff, make a couple of pops on your popper, a couple of strips on your streamer, and then you're going to cast again.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. When you're downstream on Pickwick or upstream on the grass flats of Wheeler, you're going to make the same 50-foot cast with the same fly, but you'll actually work it all the way back to the boat because you've got a longer strike zone.
Right.
Of a stump row in shallower water. You know, on Wilson Lake, typically your strike zone is within the first 10 feet of the shoreline.
Yeah.
So it's a big difference in how you approach it. There are lots of coves and cuts on Wilson Lake that have springs coming in, but the depth is the big difference. You know, when I'm fishing on the lakes, there's no using sinking lines to try and get to the mid lake. It's because God Almighty, it's 60 feet out there, 60 feet deep out in the channel. The game plan for me when I'm fishing on Wilson Lake is to work the shorelines, but don't fish the fly back to the boat. You want to maximize, keep it. Anytime you're fishing, maximize the time you have your fly in a legitimate strike zone.
Right.
So
high value
Wilson
areas.
Lake, for Wilson Lake, that's just a few strips out and pop. I actually had Chuck Rayburn. I don't know if you've met Chuck. He owns Blue Water Rod Company.
Yes, I've heard of him. I have not met him.
Chuck builds pretty stuff. He builds neat stuff. He custom build rods. He works with G. Loomis and St. Croix, and I'm not sure who all he gets blanks. McFarland. He works with McFarland Rod Company, doing some really interesting stuff. But I had Chuck build me a Wilson Lake rod that's 8 feet long, 6 weight, fiberglass.
Ooh.
You know, with a full Wills grip and a fighting butt. Right. So it's just perfect for you can even though it's a 6 weight, you can throw a fly as big as your hat. You know, right up to the bluff, a couple of strips, and just pick it up, put it right back down 10 feet away from it. You know, so
see, that's a good idea. Yeah,
it's a specific rod for that situation. When I'm fishing a mayfly hatch, or I know I'm gonna work Wilson Lake, I'm not having to make 18,000 false casts.
Right.
You just pick it up, put it back, pick it up, put it back. A neat old glass rod works really, really well on that lake.
Which also saves your shoulder.
Oh,
I'm kind of into this shoulder saving thing all of a sudden.
The older you get, the more that makes sense. Hey,
right. I want to row a little longer. So
if you're working too hard, you're doing something wrong. That's a general rule for life.
Exactly. Yeah. I had an 8 weight this week that I was casting and small fly. And I was like, wow, this is really nice. After I, calmed down a little bit, I was trying to make way too far casts at first. But after I calmed down, I thought, boy, this is actually not too hard on my shoulder. Even though it was a little bit heavier 8 weight, it still wasn't as bad. I want to go back to the grass flats just a second.
All
You
right.
mentioned the grass flats, and what was that on Wheeler or Wilson?
Yeah, it's Wilson is kind of Wilson Lake is kind of a special deal. It's in the middle. It's the shortest lake.
Yeah, yeah,
It's pretty. Wilson Lake fishes pretty similarly. That's a word. Similarly
uh-huh,
to the lower end of Wheeler, just on the other side of Wheeler Dam,
yeah,
where you have the bluffs and you're working the shoreline
right,
in relatively deep water. Okay,
right,
if you run upstream on Wheeler, you get to what's called an area known as the Decatur Flats. Running upstream towards Gunnersville Dam, there's an
yeah,
area called the Decatur Flats. It's upstream on Wheeler, but it has that milfoil and hydrilla grass sections. And similarly, if you go downstream on Pickwick, like
yeah,
leaving Florence, going downstream on Pickwick,
yeah,
there are grass mats and beds that are on the lake near Waterloo and Cherokee and the lower end of the river, lower
right,
end of Pickwick.
right,
So that's a neat thing. That wasn't there when I was growing up. When I was a kid, growing up on the lake in Waterloo, TVA was still actively spraying and controlling that aquatic vegetation.
right.
That's no longer the case. There are some private companies that spray around people's docks to give them access, but that
Yeah,
grass is pretty much unchecked down there now. And it's a neat thing, especially early in the season when you've had a rainy spring like we have now.
yeah,
You've got good high water levels, and that grass is not at the top.
right, right,
The grass is 2 feet under. 3 weeks from now it'll be a foot under, and you can
right.
go out there even with a weed. Don't have to worry about a weedless fly. You can just take your regular old popper out there and chunk and work across the top of that grass
Yeah,
as the fish are coming off the spawn. They're off beds and they're
yeah,
active. Man, there's a lot of fish in there. There's a lot of food, a lot of bait fish. So there's a lot of bass in there.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So you're just working those with poppers for the most part at the right time of the year.
At the right time of the year. And again, for me, I'm on the lakes. You know, we do some on the lakes pre-spawn, but primarily for me, I go to the lakes once the spawn's over. In May, in June, and anytime it's not too boiling hot in July, the lakes
Right,
are always in play. Uh, the TVA has public access ramps on the south side of the river. And all the municipalities, like Florence has a ramp on the north side of the river. The town of Killen has public ramps on the north side of the river. So there are multiple ways to get on the river. You get spoiled to it where we are, but all these ramps are maybe 5 or 6 miles apart. That's why I
uh,
don't make big long runs in my boat. It's so much
right,
easier for me. That's why I split my day trips up. It's easy for us to fish below the tail race in the morning for a couple hours, put the boat on the trailer, and literally go 300 yards, and you're on the next lake, but fishing a lake instead of a tail race.
right, right, right.
The next boat ramp, is less than 5 minutes away usually.
Oh, that
So you
is
can,
great.
yeah,
You are spoiled.
we're spoiled. I'm spoiled. Yeah, don't tell my wife that.
No, no, it's hard. It's hard,
Yeah,
man.
it's
It's
hard.
just
It's tough work, man.
yeah, it is.
Having to put that John boat on the trailer is tough.
Right, right. So let's talk about the larger rivers then, because we I think
Yeah,
we've got a good start on the lake. And what I like to do here is kind of give folks enough information so they can get started, if they want
yeah,
to DIY or whatever. But
right,
I want to move on to the rivers, the larger rivers, so the Tennessee, that sort
right,
of thing.
right.
And it's not always on bigger rivers. It's not always easy to find the right habitat or the fish for that matter. Um, some would struggle. Obviously, you want transportation of some kind, some type of boat. Um, so CFS is a real big consideration, especially with 21 units,
Yeah,
and 10 units. One unit pretty much around here kind of closes everybody out, but you're talking about huge water, no waiting. So you need that, there's a big consideration, what kinds of boats and that sort of thing. So how do you go about finding smallmouth on those larger rivers like the
Ooh.
Tennessee River?
Yeah. On the Tennessee River, the lakes are the thing, and we hit those seasonally. Looking for the mayfly hatch in mid-June. I go back to the lakes proper, late in October when the fish are gorging. But the same thing applies to the tail races. And the tail races being on the rivers is we have two tail races in this area: the Wheeler Dam tail race and the Wilson Dam tail race. And those are both full of fish. They're the two fishiest places I know of. The Wilson Dam tail race is called the Rock Pile.
Oh,
that's your clue. That's its official name is the TVA Rock Pile Recreation Area. And buddy, let me tell my other joke I know, other than you can't spell Cox without 0X. The only other joke I have when I speak in public is that's a great place to take your brother-in-law's boat. Because you can mess a boat up there in a hurry. I don't take my fiberglass boats to those sections.
Really?
Those tail races are, especially the Rock Pile below Wilson Dam. It's the fishiest place I know, and I've fished in a lot of places. It's the fishiest place I know, but it is the dam is just huge. You know, the Wilson Dam is 137 feet tall. 137 feet tall. Enormous. 4,500 feet long. Okay. So it's pretty narrow, really, relatively for a dam that size. It makes the height look much more because it's so tall in that short frame. And in that span, the power generations on the south side, 21 units are stacked up. And right beside it on the north side is the lock to move boats from Pickwick Dam to Wilson. And that lock is an amazing structure. For years, it was second only to the Panama Canal in height. I think it's like 110-foot drop.
Wow. Okay.
If you put your boat in on Wilson to lock down to Pickwick, it's a freaking insane trip. And it's free. It's free. It's one of the coolest free boat rides you can ever take.
Yes.
You pull your boat into this little concrete pad, and all of a sudden the walls start rising up. But anyway, at any rate, the generators below those dams, create power, create stream flow. They send the fish into feeding frenzies at the right time of year.
Right.
And the generation is the thing. The power generation is the first thing I look for every morning when I wake up. I've got back in the day when you and I first started, you had to call the 1-800.
We did.
And you alluded to it earlier because they would tell you, the Elk River Dam, Tim's Ford Dam will run one generator from 8 to 10 a.m. or whatever. And the only other option that the little automated voice had was 2 or more.
Right.
So if they gave you 0 generators, 1 generator, or two or more. And that worked for like 25 of the dams.
Right.
But we got 21 generators.
Yeah.
So two or more, that's a big old swing.
Yeah. What could that could mean something totally different.
That could be the difference between 12,000 and 300,000.
Right.
Just bananas difference. So the website now at lakeinfo.tva.gov.
Yeah.
And there's an app for that. Again, I'm sure it's the first thing I hit every morning. Boom, I check the generation.
Me too.
And it's always, of all the things that we do in the shoals, the tail races, the lakes, and the creeks. If the tail race has good numbers, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
If a tail race has good numbers, that's where we're going. And by good numbers, for me, it's 30,000 CFS or less.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, on a river that size.
And that basically means 2 units, maybe 3 units.
Yeah.
And that lets you, especially in the context of how these generators are spaced out. There are 21 on Wilson Dam. There are 11 on Wheeler Dam. But Wheeler Dam is smaller by comparison in height. It's like 73 feet tall.
Yeah.
And it's 6,500 feet long, over a mile long.
Right.
So on Wheeler Dam, if they're running more water than I'm comfortable with, like if they're running 50,000 or 60,000, you can kind of work to the edges because that watershed is so wide. Gotcha. I can find my way to an edge, to a seam.
Yeah.
Right? On Pickwick, if you're below Wilson Dam, you got there's no recourse. It's all coming down a really narrow chute.
Right.
So on Pickwick, which is the Wilson Dam tail race in particular, 30,000 is about my magic number. If I'm 30,000 CFS or less, and the rods we use up there are 8 weights by default. Bring an 8 weight. I did have a customer from Iceland come in a couple of years ago that brought a freaking spay rod. And he was casting from side to side. I felt like I needed a helmet in the boat, but he was good. He was good. But you want to, we start when you're in the tail race. We're going to amp it up from the 6 weight that we use on the lakes to an 8 weight should be your standard rod there.
Right.
And that's shocking for a lot of guys who are smallmouth fishermen or think they're going to go wade a creek and toss a boogle bug.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You got to have a big stick. It's not that the fish are that much bigger. A 20-inch fish on the creek, 20-inch fish on the river, they're not really the same if the fish in that tail race is in 30,000 CFS.
Right.
That's a lot of fight. You got to have a stick to be able to get that fish's attention.
Yeah, exactly.
And you want to get those fish in the boat quick without, running them to death. You also have the added bonus in the tail races of running into the occasional 20-pound saltwater striper.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, I saw some striper on the website. Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a beautiful bonus.
Yeah,
when you
bycatch.
Look, when your bycatch is a saltwater striper, that ain't bad. I ain't mad about that.
Right.
So, but the main thing is we go up there with an 8 weight, and I have a sack full of reels. Everything from a heavy weight forward, almost like a tarpon taper.
Yeah.
Even though it's 8 weight, all the weights in the front end so you can throw a big bug.
Right.
Sink tips, full sinks. I got shooting heads. I got one Ziploc bag, David, the cheat code. I hate to do too much of this, cheat coding you. I got one Ziploc bag full of tungsten beads for fly tying that I run down leaders.
Yeah.
Slide a tungsten bead on the leader, add a swivel, and we're going to get that sucker down if we have to.
Yeah.
The key in the tail race is to be able to get to every floor in the house, from the basement to the top floor. So some days you have to get down in the basement. Some days they're in the middle, on the 3rd floor. But, you got to have strategies in the easiest way is with adjusting your lines. Yeah. Either a different spool of a sink, have a sink tip with you, have a full sink with you, because the fish are always there.
Right.
But they're not always in the same level of the water column.
Always there somewhere.
They're always there somewhere.
Yeah.
So being able to stake out. So what I do when the flow is right, the CFS is right, in the spring and summer when I'm fishing those tail races, I try to find a seam outside of the main flow.
Right.
Basically like an eddy where you can hold the trolling motor and you're like standing on the bank of a creek fishing into the creek.
Right.
And you can hold and and manipulate your fly. In the fall of the year, October, November, and into December, the generation's usually really, really hot. And I'll fish the same water, but I won't try and hold with my trolling motor. I'll just join a circle of guys who run up to the dam and then drift back with the current.
Right.
Yeah. So it changes seasonally. But yeah, being able to get to different levels of the water column is key up there. Wilson Dam is the rock pile. It's again, both these fisheries are better suited for an aluminum john boat than a fiberglass boat. If you're coming to this area with a fiberglass boat, I would strongly suggest you stick to the Wheeler Dam tail race.
Yeah.
The average depth is greater. You do have a couple of large islands with power line towers on them.
Right.
And it's there, but by and large, the area is so much deeper and wider below Wheeler Dam that it's safe year round. And the water level only fluctuates a couple of feet from 508 to 505. So it's a little safer in that regard. If you've got too small a boat, there is a standing wave that develops from the west wind. When the power generation hits the lake, the water coming from below the dam, the power generation water, when it hits a west wind, it'll make a standing wave that looks like the inlet at Jupiter, Florida. It creates a standing wave.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen a lot of boats take on a lot of water there.
Yeah.
So
I've seen that on the ocean too before.
Yeah, it's just like a low tide inlet into the ocean.
Yep.
And the smartest play in those situations is usually just to wait it out or go around it. And if you can go around it instead of going through it, but a lot of guys get impatient. Anyway, below Wilson Dam, the biggest challenge to boating is the depth. And it's called the rock pile because of all the rocks in the water. There are signs all over those dams that say warning automatic turbines.
Right.
And most folks aren't aware of what that means. What it actually, the automatic turbine sign means is that nobody's in that dam.
Right.
They're in Knoxville. Yeah.
Yes.
They're watching a computer screen. And when turbine number 18 gets hot, they'll just cut it off and cut on number 11.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And that changes. It's really more noticeable below Wilson Dam. You can be up there fishing. I've got my trolling motor going. I'm fishing a seam, and all of a sudden, the rocks start appearing around me.
I've never seen that. Yeah.
The water level changes from side to side.
Right.
The water level will change from side to side. But when they change unit number whatever to a different unit, it's the same volume of flow, but the water level in that same spot will change. You'll see rocks appear and rocks disappear, even though the flow remains the same. That's what automatic turbines means. They're keeping the CFS the same, but they're switching which units are running.
Yeah.
So never anchor. Never anchor up there. My dad's been dead for 12 years now. He would come out of the grave and whip me if he thought he saw me anchoring up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't anchor up there. You've got to have your PFD on if you're within 800 feet anyway. But if you're in my boat, you're wearing a PFD.
Yeah.
Don't anchor.
Around here though, we don't have that trouble. So Center Ford has one. Center Hill has 3. We never see them switch from 1 to 3. If 1 is on, 1 is on. If 2 is on, 1 and 3 may be on, or 2 and 3 may be on, or 1 and 2 may be on, but they never turn them on and off. So that I've seen, I mean, they may, and I don't see it, but you'll see them run. One day they'll run 1 and 2, and then they'll shut them all down. The next day they may just run 3, number 3. So
that's how guys get in trouble up there below the dam.
Yeah,
a lot of the farmers who don't know better will go right in front of a unit that's not on.
Yeah, right.
And they're trying to catfish or whatever. But when a unit does come on, it actually turns water, and their boat will sink.
Yeah.
You know, when that turbine starts, it has an incredible volume of water that it takes into that turbine. So you'll see if a boat's sitting there, it's going to look like the guys are going to disappear.
Yeah.
And if you're anchored, you ain't coming back up.
Yeah, I've seen guys tie up to those walls inside those things, and I just it spooks me. So we would never do. I would never let anybody do that.
No, Darwin in action. But
exactly. Exactly.
It's a scary place to be, but it's a fun, hot place to be. I have some regular customers, David, that they hire me just to drive their boats up there.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's very tough to do by yourself, even with the and I don't know if you had a spotlight trolling motor.
No, I don't have one of those.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
with the spotlight?
yeah.
I tried that for about 3 days. When it first came, the spotlight technology first came out.
Yeah.
It keeps your bow in one spot, but if it turns your stern into the current, you're screwed.
Yeah, right.
I had to ditch my spotlight up there. I don't trust it. I just run my manual trolling motor, keep the bow in. It is a sketchy place. It takes doing some homework. It's better to go up there for your first time with somebody who's seen it.
Yeah.
And if you have to do it, or if you're coming to do it regardless, the Wheeler Dam tail race is a little safer than the Wilson Dam tail race, particularly at full pool. Wilson Dam all year long, or Wilson Lake rather, below Wheeler Dam has good water all year. Below Wilson Dam on Pickwick, winter pool is really not very safe for boaters.
Yeah.
It's going to draw down, to, I don't know, from 414 is full summer pool. It'll get as low as 407. And my goodness, it looks like the Hiwassee. Again, it's full of rocks.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy to see. So that's the tail race. The tail race, and that's usually depending on the flow, the first 2 miles below the river. In the fall, when the fish are in get fat mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
When everybody's trying to fatten up. And that's typically, and that's, I had a biologist on my boat really do a good job of explaining that to me a few years ago. that has as much to do with the change in daylight hours as it does the temperature. You know, when the fish have fewer hours of sunlight, they're going to start gorging.
Yeah.
When the
They
fish
know
start
something's
getting
up.
fewer hours
Yes.
of sunlight, they're going to start gorging,
Yeah.
regardless of the temperature. So when they're really making a lot of water, you don't have to necessarily be below the dam. You just got to go downstream and find. There was a song about that. Go where the weather suits your clothes. You got to go to where your fly. You got to go to where your fly can get all the way from top to the bottom of the water column.
Right, right.
And sometimes that's 3 miles below the dam. Sometimes it's 10 miles below the dam. But if they're running 60,000 CFS, I may be 10 miles below the dam. I'd rather be up at the top, right below it.
Yeah.
But if they're running too much water, I got to go downstream. And
To
you
where
can
it
do
calms
that.
a little.
Yeah, where it
too.
calms a little.
Yeah.
And, you know, what I tell my folks all the time, if you're not sticking that clouser on the bottom, we ain't getting to all the fish yet.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
the first hour of fishing, we're going to try and stick a clouser on the bottom so you know how long to wait before you start stripping.
Gotcha.
You know, so that's a big key. And that's just on Pickwick. You're not going to find the bottom on Wilson.
Right.
Because it's, you know, 60 feet deep, you're not finding the bottom there.
Yeah.
You're going to have to fish for those fish when the weather's.
There's a trade-off with fly fishing that there's a time that you're like, it's just a little too deep. I don't know what that is. 60 feet is definitely it. But I mean, I don't know from there, who knows, for different people, different setups, it's a little different, but there is a trade-off there to where okay, maybe I don't need to be doing this here. Maybe I do need to pick up that spinning rod, which I just go fish somewhere else.
Yeah, just go. That's the thing.
You know,
you can just go fish somewhere else.
Yeah, that's
that was my guy last week that got the 18 to 21. You know, he's been fishing with me. I'm down, David. I know you are too. To a pretty small group of regular customers. Thank goodness. I've got a dozen folks that fish with me, and I'm happy with them. Love them. Love my regulars. But this guy has really banged some big fish at the end of May in the tail races with me for 20 years.
Yeah.
And he was, and he booked me every weekend in May trying to get there. And the river was blown out. You know, the tail races were running 90,000 CFS, 100,000 CFS. And it's just, he wasn't going to be able to get the fly there.
Right.
So having that creek as a plan B, super solid. That's the beauty of that area in Northwest Alabama.
Makes total sense too.
Yeah.
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 So
some guys want to do it. I have some people who just want to fish that tail race, excuse me, looking for a monster. I guess it was worse back in the day when we had more print media, like the Bass Pro magazines and the whatever Game and Fish magazines. Folks would read about the Shoals area, and the word out on the street was you got to go in the fall to catch a 7-pound smallmouth. And that's true. That's true. That's during that fatten up period.
Right.
But that's also, if you're going to do that on the tail race, you got to be throwing an 8-weight minimum, 350 grains full sink line, throwing a clouser, waiting for 30 seconds before you start stripping.
Yeah.
It ain't fun. It's work. It's
a lot of work. Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it really is.
You're not coming out there in a drift boat throwing a boogle bug and watching them come up and eat it. That's not
that ain't happening. Yeah.
The other big difference in the lakes and the tail races, particularly for our smallmouth fishing, is it's bait fish oriented. A lot of like the Canadian smallmouth fisheries and the Wisconsin bait fish, they're dealing with leeches,
right,
and eels and other. And everybody's got crawdads, and we have crawdads patterns and Helgermont patterns we fish in the creek. But if you're on the lake or on the tail race, it's bait fish. We got threadfin shad. That's what we got.
Right.
The locals will call you yellowtails, little yellowtail minnow. Little blackback, silver fly, got a black dot.
Right.
We're throwing bait fish imitations if you are on the lakes or the tail races. Now that changes when you get to the creek, but that's our next story.
Yeah. Well, let's see what the creek's got to offer then. And I was on the Vice. I was on the Vice. Gosh, I was on the Vice all winter and most of the spring, I'll say, up until about a month ago. Tied for guiding this year, and I tied some. So we've got some smallmouth rivers here as well, and I was tying some smallmouth patterns and have been working good on the smaller rivers and a little bit on the larger ones too. I shouldn't pigeonhole myself, but the smaller rivers and side creeks, side channels, stuff like that. They've been working there, and I really enjoy fishing those small and medium sized waters down to those small creeks that you're talking about are
Yeah.
super intriguing. But so what about finding smallmouth on the small rivers and the creeks?
Yeah, that's what's dear to my heart. Remember how we said that the Tennessee River makes a smiley face
Uh-huh.
right across the top of Alabama? Well, what it's doing, and I do have a geology degree. I hadn't
Oh,
used it.
okay.
I've been a driver's ed teacher. The first school I went to needed a driver's ed teacher, so that was 36 years ago. But the reason the smiley face happens on the Tennessee River is the river leaving Knoxville has to flow around the southern highland rim of the Cumberland Plateau. The southern highland rim
Yeah, yeah,
of the Cumberland Plateau, especially the little dome that Nashville is in,
right.
and that limestone flows to it, makes just like a little pyramid almost, and the river
Uh-huh.
flows around it. So the creeks that flow down that plateau and enter the river from the north have smallmouth. The
Right.
creeks that enter the Tennessee River from the south do not.
Huh. Didn't know that.
That they do not. If you want to fish the lakes, you can catch smallmouth. You fish
Right.
the tailwaters, you can catch smallmouth. If you want to fish the tributaries and catch smallmouth, you have to be on one of the northern tributaries.
And now,
This
just to clear this up for someone who's out there going, no, I catch them on the south side. We're talking about in Alabama.
in Alabama.
Okay. All
If
right.
you're in the Tennessee River, in the
Yeah.
Shoals area,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
tributaries that come in there, and they may be at the very mouth of the creek, but they're not throughout the
Yeah.
length of the creek.
Right.
Like Big Nance Creek, Town Creek, and those fish, Bear Creek, they tried decades ago to stock some smallmouth in the upper sections of Bear Creek because it looks good on paper,
Yeah.
with the stuff, but it doesn't have all the elements that smallmouth want. What that area, basically, if you think of from Nashville flowing south, right,
Uh-huh.
the southern highland rim of the Cumberland Plateau, that area has what smallmouth need. The creeks that flow through it have gradient.
Right.
So there's broken water, there's riffles, there's limestone substrate, and most importantly, there's that thumbnail size pea gravel, and that's
Yep.
what smallmouth have to spawn.
Right.
Okay. So you've got all those things. You've got broken water, the dissolved oxygen that comes from broken water, limestone substrate with all the food in the world. My goodness, so many bugs and shiner and darter species,
Yeah. True.
crawdads, helgrammites. You've got all that going on, plus the pea gravel. So it's the geology that makes those tributaries that flow in from the north so special. And some of them are really small creeks, some of them are really big creeks, but they all hold good fish. The biggest, I'm talking, you could find a 20-inch fish on any stream that holds smallmouth. The difference between the small streams and the bigger streams is the number of fish per mile
Right.
and how you have to fish them. So most of them are floatable. The wading of those creeks, if you've waded around Tennessee on those smallmouth streams, wading ain't easy.
Right.
It's not an easy wade trip because of the nature of that geology. It's very karst, like K-A-R-S-T. Karst is a function of limestone where it'll be flat all of a sudden and then
Yeah.
drop
Right.
out. And
Yeah.
all of a
Float
sudden,
your hat.
an individual hole will go 2 feet deep forever, and then poof, you're 10 feet deep,
Yeah.
in a blue hole where the limestone's just bottomed out.
Right.
You also have big chunks. It's like if you flooded your living room and tried to wade through it. That's what you're dealing with on these limestone bottom creeks. It ain't an easy wade. All the creeks, from the biggest to the smallest, lend themselves to like a sit on top kayak trip. That's the perfect vessel.
Yeah.
Where you can float through the deep stretches, hop out in the riffles and wade, hop back on. Those are perfect for even the biggest creeks, and the smallest creeks especially. Wade trips are tough.
Yeah.
Wade trips are tough because number one, the bottom can be difficult. You can find yourself in sections where it gets too deep to wade because of that karst topography, and two, because on the smaller streams it's really technical. It's like the difference in playing chess and checkers. You have to ease into a hole. If you kind of like brook trout fishing,
Yeah.
fish in those small streams, super easy to fool unless you spook them. Then you'll
Right.
never catch them. So smaller streams are cool, in that you have to look at a stream and say, all right, if a fish is in this pool, he'll be in that one spot. We got to ease to make our one cast.
Yeah.
If you screw the first cast up, just hike on.
Yeah. We got to move. Yeah.
Not coming back. There's no plan B.
Where do they go? I don't understand where these fish go to.
I don't know.
I
don't know. I hope I find out one day.
Yeah. Gosh, if you could solve that one, that'd be great.
So our creeks are good. We've got everything from strictly wadeable little branches to some streams that we have. I'm not gonna be like some YouTube guys and burn spots.
No, let's don't do that.
You guys know what I'm talking about? You spot burning son of a guns. But no.
One comes to mind right away.
One comes to mind right away. I'm not selling flies either. So
yeah, I'm not.
Anyway,
we're not.
So anyway,
going there.
Yeah, not going there. But but anyway, even the bigger streams are cool. Some of the bigger floats, you can plan on making a weekend trip and having a full day float. Some of the smaller streams we have are you can make a 3-hour, 4-hour float. The biggest common denominator when you're looking at your own map and making your own decisions is if they're flowing in from the north. If they're flowing in from the north and entering the Tennessee River from the north side, they're going to have smallmouth.
Yeah,
they're going to have smallmouth. So they're really cool, and I love those creeks. They love having the options, and they flow from different watersheds. And I hate to name names of creeks, but there's always a couple, especially given the nature of spotty summer rain showers. Rain shower can come up in Lawrence County that Wayne County, Tennessee never gets hit.
Right.
That's going to affect us. That means we'll have one creek that's crystal clear and the next creek 2 miles over is super muddy.
Right.
So you've got to have an eye on the radar. Don't get bummed out if, we very rarely have a creek that's not fishable. There's always an option because of the diversity of how those streams come. Everywhere from Fayetteville, Tennessee, all the way to Savannah. And those streams, and that's a pretty wide range geographically.
That's a long way. Yeah,
that's like the top of a V.
Right.
But those streams all kind of tend towards our area, and that's based on the slope of the geography of that southern highland rim.
Right.
So the origins of that water, it gives you usually some clear water somewhere.
That is so interesting because I've never thought about. I've driven that from Murfreesboro to Savannah several times. Yeah. I've never thought that all that water that I pass over is going to generally be down in Florence.
Yeah, it's coming down to us.
Didn't understand. I never have thought about that, but that makes total sense what you're talking about, the geography.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of different options. You get a lot of different looks through that area.
Yeah.
There's a couple of streams there, even around that I hate to say the names of creeks, but that were formerly listed as Tennessee trophy waters when they were doing the seasonal stocking.
Yeah.
But anyway, two of those creeks were so really close together. One drained into the Tennessee River, into one of our bigger creeks, and the other creek flowed the different direction and drained actually into the Buffalo.
Oh yeah, I guess it would, wouldn't it? Yeah,
yeah.
Makes total sense. Yeah,
yeah. But the two streams where they stock those trout, where their smallmouth are, were less than a mile apart.
Yeah.
But the water in those streams didn't rejoin until like 400 miles later in Paducah, Kentucky. It's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, that is crazy. So what about flies?
Oh, flies for the creeks. Flies in the creeks get a lot more traditionally small. If you went to an LL Bean or an Orvis catalog to look for smallmouth flies, you're going to use those flies in the creeks more than you would the lakes or the tail races. That's where you're going to use the crawfish flies. You're going to use the Helgermite flies. God Almighty, I didn't mention John Lohr. Are you familiar with John Lohr? Lohr. John just got a deal with. He's got his flies out for sale, big time now. Orvis is carrying him, and
Oh,
All the major retailers he's professionally tying for now. He's in our area. He
okay.
ties a fantastic little freaking frog, the ribbit roll, which is his name spelled backwards. Fantastic little frog pattern. God, I mean, it's kind of like when the Boogle Bug first came out. I wish it wasn't so good, but God, it's good. It's a good
Yeah.
fly. He ties a good fly. So
Huh.
yeah, we're using traditional stuff in the streams more crawdad flies. I'm a sucker for a crawdad fly.
Yeah.
Uh, but tons of Helgrammites, anything small and flashy. We've got so many shiner species. Uh, yeah, the typical rig for us for the creeks, even the smallest creeks, is a 6 weight.
Yeah.
You know that shocks some folks. Even though you look at the size of the stream and think you're going to Upper Hazel Creek, you should have a 4 weight. You'll get your feelings hurt
Yeah. Yeah.
by an 18-inch fish. A 6 weight. You need to have a 6 weight to handle the big fish. You can get by with smaller rigs, but you really, no matter what, have to have some heavy terminal tackle.
Yeah.
Can't spell Cox without 0x.
Yeah. Yep.
Have some heavy terminal tackle because there's some big fish even in the smallest creeks. For the flies, we're gonna again we use some leggy poppers early, but if I always use articulated streamers, time in every call. I tie more of my own flies than I buy production flies. So any crawdad fly, one of the big cheat codes on the creeks is a short sink tip line with a brown Todd's wiggle minnow.
Good stuff, huh?
Looks like crawdad. Yeah, it's easy to fish.
What about the orange on crawdads?
I don't know. We had when I ran the fly shop, we had an Orvis shop in Florence. I ran for about a dozen years before that big economic downturn in 2012. But we had the biology department at the University of North Alabama work with us to seine a section of our local creek.
Right.
We got volunteer fly fishing dudes. This is before everybody had cell phones and shit, because it's a long time ago.
Right.
So we all meet on a Saturday. The college kids come out, and the deal was we helped them seine a mile of the creek, and we got to keep some samples for the fly shop. David, we had Helgrammites longer than your finger.
Wow.
I was really, and I got to keep those specimens in the shop. I was really stunned by the variation in crawdads. I thought we might see all big ones or all small ones based on like a stage of life, but we had everything from 1/4-inch crawdads to freaking 6-inch crawdads, and every color. We had them. We had blue ones. We had green ones. We had some orange tipped ones. So I don't know that it matters. I've seen a lot of that stuff lately about, why are you doing this to your crawdads? I don't know. I think to me, a lot of it is in the presentation more than the color.
Yeah.
When I go speak to fly fishing clubs, it always hurts people's feelings because they want to know what my exact mayfly representation is for the mayfly hatches.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, I'm a presentationist.
Yep.
I want it to move more like the fly than look like the fly.
Right.
If I've got two guys in my boat, I've always got them throwing different flies, a dark fly and a light fly. but by and large, I want it to move like a crawdad more than I want it to look like the right color. I want it to wiggle and stop and flare. And so I don't know.
Yeah, it amazes me that the number of us that are presentation people.
Oh, it's
guides, like guides in general are
for
the most part.
That's why you're saying strip it, stop it, strip it, stop it. You basically, if you're fishing for a predatory fish, which is typically a bigger fish, a fish that's trying to eat a bigger piece of food, it's like playing with a kitten and a ball of string.
Yep.
You're trying to entice them into biting, and that's usually with presentation more than color.
It's that and doing little things different, like you're talking about.
Yeah,
it's just a bunch of those little bitty things that you do that you finally figure out. Okay, this is working, so we'll do this.
Yeah.
Oh, now this is working. Okay, we'll put that in our quiver.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing on the creeks too. Is having some practice cast. And I said at the very beginning, what I like about the creeks is the visual aspect.
Yes.
When you can see on the creeks, you can physically see the two things, the potholes and the ledges. You
Yes.
know, yeah, and a lot of guys who are like Alabama bass fishermen or spotted bass fishermen are used to beating the banks.
Yep.
We don't beat the banks when you're smallmouth fishing unless there's a blowdown or a bluff in the channels against the bank. But by and large, on an average stretch of the stream, you're looking, and one of the most important pieces of equipment you can have is a good pair of polarized glasses.
Yeah.
Good pair of polarized glasses so you can see the color change difference and recognize the ledges and the potholes. Ledges and the potholes are just like the hallways and the rooms in your house. You know, a pothole's like a room in your house, a ledge is like the hallway. That's how the fish set up. That's where they move. You know, they're going to be on the ledges or off the ledges or in the potholes. So you've got to practice putting your cast above those things.
Yep.
And let your people practice. You're going to make it. You want it to turn right in front of that pothole, not on top of it, not behind it. You know, but
right,
doing those things, finding flies that'll mimic that motion and trigger a strike in the right time. If you don't do it at the right time, it doesn't matter. You know, if you're doing it over the top of a fish's head, he ain't seeing it.
no,
It's got to be in front of him.
Yeah. So do you have a favorite fly?
Oh my gosh. Do I sound
like
do I have a
one.
favorite finger? Yeah, I got
right. Like one favorite fly for
oh man. Yeah,
smallies.
but at heart, you know, as much as I love watching fish back up under a popper, you know, if I'm fishing on my own, most days I'm starting with a streamer. I'm throwing a big, and again, I'm pretty simple old country boy. I'm gonna throw a big old number 2 white articulated feather changer. You know, like a big old, like I like to throw a mistake, something I can strip. Especially if I can see it, if I see it coming, and I can see that fly, and I know I can tease a fish into hitting it. That's what I like.
Yeah,
and the old hook size number 2, 4 to 5 inch white feather game changer has been very, very good to me.
Yeah.
So that would be it.
I love watching. I tend to start with white, and then yellow is like my.
Oh yeah.
Yellow is 1.5. So if white is 1, yellow's 1.5 for me.
Yeah, my dad was a fly tyer. Got me into this early on. My dad was a factory worker, but his side hustle, he did taxidermy and tide flies. So I've been a fly fisherman exclusively my whole life. But when I was growing up, and especially when I was first on my own and started tying flies, and I'd bring something to show my dad that I was proud of, his one question would be, "Hey, that's pretty good looking, son. But why ain't it yellow?"
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Why ain't it yellow? Because you know that's what you got to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, yellow's a number 2. It's but white, you know, white's been good to me lately.
Yeah,
and white
me as well.
Easy and cheap, and you know,
yeah,
I like the time cheap, and
dude, I got a drawer full over there that you could probably put a whole case of albums in. That's all probably all white, maybe some yellow.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
My white streamer box is pretty dang big myself.
Yeah. Somebody was telling me the other day they fish in salt, and that's all they use is white. Like,
dude,
that's it.
I'm down here. You know, we have a place in the Tampa Bay area, and I've got 1/8 weight that you know, I was down here last summer that I kept a little white game changer on, and you know, pretty much all summer.
Yeah,
that's why I caught everything that swims with a small 4-inch white articulated streamer. No need to outthink the room.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because it's going to work. That's for
if you
sure.
Put it in front of a fish, yeah.
So let's move on. Yeah, let's talk about eating. You want to talk about eating? Because I love to talk about eating. So we almost every episode, maybe not at first, but just about every episode since I would say 40 or 50, somewhere in there, we start talking about food, because when people come to somewhere to fish, whether they're coming to hire Tony or David or whatever, or a DIY, I mean, that's one of the things that you have to know that, okay, what's a good place to eat? And my wife is big on looking at reviews for stuff.
Oh yeah.
She is the queen of that. I mean, she's pulled me out of so many bad things by saying, "Did you read the reviews?" Well, no. So but they're kind of the inside scoop on the internet, but a real true inside scoop. That's what I'm looking for. And if it's scoop ice cream, that's great. But so folks traveling through or visiting North Alabama, the Shoals in particular, that we're going to need to eat. So, what are some of your favorite spots to
Oh
grab
my
a bite?
gosh. The number one thing, of course, this will get a fight started quicker than somebody's trying to teach their spouse how to back up at a boat ramp
Bah.
is barbecue. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
barbecue. But
yeah,
by gosh, we're in a really freaking sweet spot. We're Memphis adjacent.
yep.
If you look at the map of barbecue, we're there. We got it. And if you're coming up to the area, particularly from the south, on Wheeler Lake in
Uh-huh.
Decatur, Alabama, freaking Big Bob Gibson Barbecue.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yep.
Well, 2 weeks ago they just won again the national championship in Memphis in May.
Oh, did they
They're
really?
they're they're not
Oh,
small time. That's
yeah,
Chris Lilly.
yeah,
He's a Florence guy. Chris and his brother Owen.
yeah.
My goodness, they're most famous, I guess, through all the Southern Living and Garden and Gun for they are the creators of the Alabama white sauce,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's famous great with smoked chicken. But their
Yes.
ribs, oh my gosh, and 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 their pie, whew, homemade
Oh,
pies.
oh,
So yeah,
okay. Yeah.
Big Bob Gibson is upstream, and they are world class. In Florence proper, you also got multiple barbecue joints. My goodness, it makes me so hungry. Whew. Had a salad for dinner tonight, and I'm thinking
Yeah,
about barbecue now.
I had
But yeah, we
shrimp.
got
So
yeah,
I'm now I'm looking for something else.
yeah, we got Bunyan's. Mr. Bunyan, John Cole Bunyan's barbecue is famous for the hot dogs. That's one of Mac McAnally's places.
Oh,
You can, yeah, the slaw dogs. I can't even describe them. You
oh,
could you
yeah.
could Google those slaw dogs. They are everybody who comes to record in the Shoals area hits that barbecue. They do pulled pork shoulders. Bunyan's barbecue is great. Their hot dogs are phenomenal. We have another little low key Stag's Grocery. Are you familiar with the Indian Pass Raw Bar down in Apalachicola,
Oh, am I? Oh, yeah. I think if you haven't been to Indian Pass Raw Bar,
buddy?
don't
Yeah.
go while I'm there, but you need to go.
Well, let me tell you, the Indian. I grew up going there. That was on
Yeah.
the way to my family's Florida place. I'm so old, David, that I remember getting gas at those pumps outside.
Do you really? Yeah,
Yes, sir. When it was a
you're
real
up there.
grocery store. But to back up, Stag's Grocery is just like the Indian Pass Raw Bar, and it used to be a grocery store, local grocery store, but they morphed into their food being the thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
their burgers are fantastic, and their breakfast is what they're known for. But
Oh, hang on a second.
you go in the
There
morning
we go.
and you tell the girls behind the counter, hey, I want a couple of biscuits, some gravy, chocolate gravy on my biscuits, and some bacon on the side. Sit down with a cup of coffee, and you're sitting communally, maybe with a lawyer, maybe with a district judge, maybe with the guys who are running the recycling truck, but you're all sitting together. When you're finished with your breakfast and conversation, you just go tell the girl at the counter what you had. They're on the
Just
honor
like Indian
system,
Pass.
just like the
Yes.
Indian Pass Raw Bar. They're the only
Yes.
two places like that I know in the world, and it's fantastic. Anytime there's an election, everybody who's running for office is in there, breakfast and lunch. They're
Yep.
open like from 4:30 a.m. to 2:30. The cheeseburgers at lunch are fantastic. Their
Oh my
breakfast is what
gosh.
they're really famous for, but they kind of have a loose menu on the wall. You just
Yeah.
go tell the girls cooking what you want. When you're done, you tell the girl at the counter what you had, and she'll figure out what to charge you.
See, we
Can't
need something like that here.
God, you can't
Every
beat it.
town needs something like
Oh,
that.
you can't beat it. But if you're bringing your wife, you've got uh, George's Steak Pit is also, it's a garden and gun level, Southern Living level
I've
written
heard of
up.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Georgia Steak Pit. It's actually a buddy of mine, a college roommate, Scott Trimble, owns that place now. Uh, he's gotten out of the coaching business and is running that steakhouse. And the smartest thing he did was made sure that everybody stayed on staff. He's had the same cook for, I think, 40 years now.
Oh, that is
At
smart.
George's Steak
Yes.
Pit. So it's a fantastic. We got plenty of dining options. You're not going to go hungry in Florence.
What is the other steak place that has the sauce stuff down there?
It was Dale's. It closed down.
Dale's.
Yeah, the
Did it?
COVID got
Okay.
that.
Oh,
Yeah,
did
the
it
Dale's
really?
steak sauce is still there, but it was right there. My God.
Yeah.
Whew, my
That
wife
was
and
the place
I.
that we went to on a Sunday and they were closed.
Yeah.
We drove all that way from Pickwick all the way down there, which
Oh, it
seemed
was
like it wasn't.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
My gosh. My wife and I were there the night we got engaged.
Oh,
Yeah.
no kidding.
Right across the road from that at McFarland Park. Yeah. But yeah,
Do
Dale's is
you?
good. The steak sauce is still there.
Yeah, yeah. I enjoy a steak like that soaked in that every once in a
But
while.
yeah, George's Steak Pit is the same deal. They're back home.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody needs an
Oh.
Indian pass though.
Oh, and the other place that was just opened up since, I guess, 2 years now at Schaefer's. And you've seen me, if you've looked at my social media, I'm there playing music on the weekends. Schaefer's is at the Happy Hollow Marina. When I fish on Shoal Creek, just to finally blow a name, Shoal Creek. When I fish on Shoal Creek,
Yeah.
I'm launching at the Happy Hollow Marina, and there's a restaurant there that's open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, run by Cappy and Heidi. Heidi's going through a battle with some cancer right now. Hope Heidi's good.
Yeah.
But they have fantastic brisket. They actually own a couple of restaurants in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee.
Oh,
the Schaefer's restaurant family. But they opened this place up, and it's on the water. It's at the boat ramp on Shoal Creek, so you can park your boat, go in and have some great brisket, and jump back in your boat and go catch smallmouth at Schaefer's Happy Hollow.
Okay, there you go. What do you
Yeah,
play?
that's what I got.
You said you play music. What do you play?
Yeah, I'm like everybody else around. I'm a picker.
Are you? Okay.
I play guitar, resonator, dobro, mandolin, banjo, pick anything that's got strings. So
Nice.
yeah, I actually started off in college as a commercial music major. That's what I thought I was going to do. And I got to college and found out that I would starve because everybody else was so much better than me. But yeah, but in fairness, the guys in my freshman class were like Patterson Hood, who's drive-by truckers, and Mike Cooley. Those guys, they've all won Grammys since. So I wasn't that bad. They were just really good.
You know, that's the guy that, and I've probably told this before, but the guy that fixes my cars, like does my brake jobs or whatever.
Yeah.
We bought Toyotas, so we don't see each other as much as we used
Correct.
to. But
there you go.
But he was a drummer in a gospel band, like full deal, all that stuff. Just, man, he's good, talented.
Yeah.
And there's people around here, I'm sure it's the same down there.
Oh yeah.
That just have so much talent, but just didn't get exactly the break that they needed. But still, I mean, you can go down to we've got a couple of meat butcher shops here. One of them I can almost walk to. I could walk to if I wasn't so lazy. But they have music in there about every couple of weeks, and it's people with record deals go in there and sing and play, and just that good. There's just so much talent here. So down there, I'm sure it's the same way.
Yes, it's actually the difference between where you're at and where I'm at. It's just the state line is.
That's it.
If you're not looking at your map, you're not going to. It's the same geography, same geology. It's like Southern Middle Tennessee. We're just across the state line.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. A lot of talented folks.
Well, why don't you? We ask this of everybody. Why don't you tell us about the one that got away, the smallmouth that got away?
Oh, the smallmouth that got away. Whew. Smallmouth that got away, man. That's a heartbreaking story. Usually,
I know it. Yeah,
it's got to be a heartbreaking story usually. But I tell you what, I did this deal. This is all I got is long stories. My kids will be the first to tell you that. All I've got is long stories. I did a deal. I guess it's 3 years ago now. When they started off an inaugural Gulf Coast fly fishing deal down at the Gulf Shore State Park, and they had me come in and speak about fly fishing in North Alabama. So I was on the ticket, and I did my spiel like I've done here tonight, talking about the ways to fish for smallmouth in North Alabama. But what I do when I speak in public like that is I have a PowerPoint rolling while I'm talking of the previous year's fishes. So this would be like 2021. I had the 2021 highlights like that are on my website of guys with the grip and grin holding
Yeah,
their fish.
right.
I've got the guys holding the fish, different guys, different customers. So I'm speaking about creek fishing in particular to this group. And this one guy in the group that was listening to me speak called me out on it. He said, "My God," he said, "are all those fish in your creek 18 inches?" He said, "Because there's like 6 different guys all holding 18-inch fish." Right. And I had to, kind of eat my grin because it was the same fish. Guarantee it was the same fish. I had taken those pictures, David. And if you've ever fished with me before, you'll know what creek I'm talking about because it was, if you zoomed out on the pictures, there would have been a collie dog in the background. It's an area on this one particular creek that I call the Lassie Hole because the family that lives on this creek has had a collie that's always walking around the backyard for 30 years. I mean, for 30 years, it's the Lassie Hole.
Yeah.
And it was 4 years ago. 4 years ago in June, I guarantee you, I caught that same, or my customers caught that same fish 6 times.
Yeah, gum.
I mean, it was, we would come down.
Too. That's
we
great.
would come down. I would see there's a rock slot. You're looking for those potholes and ledges. I'd stop the boat. There he is again. Of course, you don't say that, but we stop the boat. Yeah. We drift the fly, bam. But you can look at my PowerPoint. You had those 6 different guys holding this fish. So it's the same fish. It is the fish, huh? So yeah. Thank God that fish got away because I don't know if it was just dumb or stubborn, but I guarantee you we caught that fish 6 times one year.
Big and dumb. That's my favorite 2 kinds of fish.
Yeah, big and dumb are my favorite kind of smallmouth. Yeah. Oh. So that was a fun one. So I had to cover that up. But yeah, it was at the Lassie Hole. All good.
So what's the one that got away? I want to hear the one.
We kept putting it back. We kept putting it back. It got away. Thank God it
got away every time.
It got away every time. So yeah, that's what we did.
Oh gosh, that's funny.
So yeah, it's a good place to be. The Shoals is a great getaway. It's from my house in Florence, Alabama, I can be on Broadway in Nashville in 2 hours.
Oh gosh, why would you want to go there?
But I'm just saying, for chicken.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I can be at Hattie B's in 2 hours.
Okay.
I can be at Hattie B's in 2 hours.
Gotcha.
So that's just frame of reference. The funny thing is too, when I first started this gig and was speaking to fly fishing clubs, one of the first places I went to give my spiel was at the Tennessee Valley Fly Fishers in Huntsville.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I did this same spiel I'm talking about. Yeah. And I wear myself out with the PowerPoints and the ways to fish it. And I asked for questions. There's a group of 75 old guys in there who were engineers at NASA and on the Arsenal. And the first question a guy had was the same question they all had. And that was, where is Florence? Because they ain't from there.
Right.
They didn't have any idea of what existed outside of the city limits of where they work.
That is just so true.
It's just an hour away.
Yeah.
Just an hour away from Huntsville, one of the biggest cities in Alabama, and you're in the Shoals, which has many more options. Those guys' home water is, the elk. You see those guys up there.
Yeah. Yep.
But same distance, they can be in Florence fishing the same kind of water for bigger fish, for 16, 18-inch fish. But they're smallmouth.
Right.
Yeah. So we're pretty accessible to a lot of different regions.
Yeah,
a couple hours from Birmingham, couple from Nashville. And again, a lot of my
Memphis.
customers
It's
are coming
not that
up.
far to Memphis.
No, a lot of my folks are coming from not Memphis so much as I get a lot of Tupelo folks, guys who are coming up trying to find smallmouth that don't want to go to the Ozarks.
Yeah, right.
Right. They don't want to fight that
zoo,
those crowds in those areas. But yeah, we're off the path a little bit, but it's worth a visit. If you get a chance to come to Northwest Alabama, we got some fish, some barbecue, some music,
some catfish.
It's catfish.
You got catfish over there. Yep.
We got all kinds.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, good cooked catfish.
Newbern's on
Yeah.
Highway 72. Yeah, Newbern's
Yep.
is the catfish place. Yeah.
Oh, well, let's go ahead and close this thing out, Tony. Thanks for
All
joining
right.
us on this episode. Hit the like, click to follow, share. Please share with somebody. Share. Challenge you to share this episode with somebody who doesn't know about it. Sign up for the Southeastern Fly newsletter. It's available anywhere that you're listening to this. Just go down into the show notes. There'll be a link there. Click it. Fill it out. Fill out the form, which I think is two things, like your name and your email address. Those email addresses stay with me. They don't go out anywhere else. So, who is our guest today on this episode about fly fishing for smallmouth? Born and raised fly fishing on the Tennessee River, which you just heard a lot about. A licensed U.S. Coast Guard captain since 2005. Freshly retired high school baseball coach and teacher. Still cannot wipe the smile off of his face like he just ran the gauntlet. He offers casting and fly fishing lessons, canoe trips, some wade trips, tail race trips below Wheeler and Wilson dams, lake trips on Wheeler, Wilson, and Pickwick. And you can find him at coxflyfishing.com. Tony, thank you for sharing your story and smallmouth fishing with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, David. Y'all keep a hook wet and you got a chance.
There you go. That's good. You just listened to Captain Tony Cox, fly fishing for smallmouth on Southeastern Fly, and we'll see you next time.